Chapter 15. Prince Ajori and I followed Ivy out of the Hall of Song. As soon as the door closed behind us, she stopped, smiling. She stormed through the corridor.
They should have loved my song. They shouldn't have hated it. I said I miss Oscaro.
The prince and I hurried to keep up. Uchu trotted between us. My shadow and the shadows of Prince Ajori and Uchu merged into a shapeless splotch on the corridor wall. Ivy's shadow, thin and wavery, bobbed ahead.
I said my grief trails.
Prince Ajori broke in. Your Majesty, perhaps... She whirled on him.
Why did you let me say the wrong things?
She whirled on me.
Why did you?
I said nothing. I'd seen guests in rages at the featherbed. The only sensible course was to wait out the fury. He said, But your Majesty, if you...
Don't contradict me!
We marched on. After a few minutes, we reached Ivy's door. Uchu sat, wagging her tail.
You needn't come in, Asa. I think I can remember how to disrobe.
I curtsied, and Prince Ajori bowed. Ivy went inside, slamming the door behind her. We left her chambers, a dispirited trio. Even Uchu's tail was down. We heard a crash. She'd thrown something. I hoped it hadn't been Skolny, the hand mirror. Uchu ran away down the corridor. A moment later we heard Ivy weeping. I couldn't pity her. We hurried after Uchu. When we were far from her door, Prince Ajori said, I trust you'll be silent about the Queen's outburst. Of course. We reached the great hall. It was dim, illuminated by only a few lanterns. Our heels echoed on the tiles. Prince Ajori guided me to a table where a candle burned. On the table were several unlit candles and candle holders. He lit a candle for me. Can you find your room from here? I think so. I wished I could have news of the king before I tried to sleep. Do you think your uncle's condition might have changed? I was intending to visit him. You may come if you like. It was a grudging invitation, but I wanted to go with him and learn whether this thing had harmed or helped. He took a candle for himself. We entered a new corridor. When he spoke again, his voice was strained. Tomorrow I'll draw up the papers to make you a lady and the Queen's lady-in-waiting. You cannot join the nobility unless your family owns land. The Queen is graciously giving you a parcel of the Crown's land. 50 acres. It is excellent. Pardon me. I stopped walking. My knees felt weak. Did you say land? Your Highness, did you say 50 acres? He waited for me. His voice was a shade friendlier. Yes, and your wage will be 10 gold yorthies a month. I touched the wall to steady myself. 10 gold yorthies a month? 50 acres? This would mean everything to the featherbed, to my brothers and Arita's futures. I murmured, We're rich. There's also a gallon of rendered boar fat on the first day of winter. His face was in a shadow, but his tone was amused. The fat is customary. Ivy was paying me well for my crime. I began to walk again. He added, My uncle chose Lady Arona to be the Queen's lady-in-waiting. Arona knows the ways of the court. And I knew nothing. I wanted to promise him that I'd serve the Queen faithfully, but I didn't know what a faithful service to her would mean. I wanted to promise I'd serve Eortha faithfully, but I was engaged in duping the entire court. After a moment I said, I'll do my best to serve her honorably. I would try to do that. I would try to serve her well in spite of herself, in spite of my fear, in spite of my anger, in spite of my duplicity. I hope you will. I hope you'll serve Eortha honorably too. I think my heart stopped beating for a full minute. I heard Uchu's panting. He changed the subject. Your song comforted me. Without thinking, I said, Yours made me weep. At home, that was a compliment. Was it a terrible thing to say here? I saw. Thank you. But your song, it was a comfort to know that your family, so far away, would feel as keenly for my uncle as we do here. We love the king at the featherbed. Father collects reports of him from our guests. Every year, in honor of his birthday, Mother and Father and my brothers and my sister and I write a song to celebrate. I'd like to hear you all. If only he could. He'd give you the peacock chamber, where the Duchess stays. It would seem shabby compared to the rooms here.
What would your cook serve?
Heart with fire peppers. I sang, peppers in the pan, make your mouth dance, peppers on the tongue, make your nose run. Then I blushed. At least it was too dark for him to see. He laughed, really laughed. Uchu jumped up on him. He sang,
peppers on the tongue, make your nose run.
I wanted to sing him every silly song of my childhood. I was pleased at taking him out of his sadness for a bit. As we turned into a new hallway, he said,
perhaps the Queen chose well in choosing you. She may prefer a companion to an instructor. My uncle would understand that.
I whispered, thank you, Your Highness.
When she blamed us for her song, I argued with her. Did you wish to argue too?
I shook my head. When guests rage, it's best to let the rage blow itself out.
Were they always terrible, your guests who raged?
How nice to be royalty. No one had ever before dared to behave badly to him. Some were decent and good, once they stopped being angry. We reached Sir Anol's chambers. Prince Ajori put his hand on the knob but didn't turn it.
If we're to attend the Queen together, you should call me Ajori.
Ajori? Ajori! I didn't think I could say it, so I nodded. He patted Uchu.
Uchu answers to Her Royal High Houndiness. Shall we go in, Aza?
Yes, please, Prince Ajori.
Ajori.
I can't.
You can. Yes, please.
Yes, please. My voice dropped to a mumble. Ajori?